Okay, we're on Horizon House time, so that means we better wait a few minutes. Let's let some more people come in and be on Horizon House time. Does anybody really know that we do have clocks that don't agree? And should anybody know that is the next question. I'm, in fact, thinking these two clocks don't agree right in this room. Ah, the world, the world. Well, welcome to Writers Read. Today's readers, I said, should I call them writers or readers today? And their readers today are two people, Nancy Donnelly and Carol Ottenberg. My name is Nancy Cope, and of course, we start with the poem. I say some words, you say some words. Write, write, write. Until you get it right. Then read aloud. You'll draw a crowd and bring us great delight. So welcome. We will wait until after the readers finish, each reader finishes, to have Q&A rather than waiting till the end. So that keep your questions right close by, because after Nancy's done, we'll have Q&A. And then after Carol's done, where is Carol sitting? I need to be there you are, dear heart. Oh. After Carol's done, we'll have Q&A for her. Okay, Nancy Donnelly, welcome.
Thank you.
And I just want to let you know, and I think it's all right with you, Nancy, that Nancy has spent some time in Arizona. She has not been to a writer's read.
Whatever. That's true.
But I want to introduce you by showing her what books she is presenting today in one form or another. The first one is called Changing Lives of Refugee Hmong Women. And I'm going to read you just a little bit of her back information. Nancy Donnelly teaches anthropology and sociology at South Seattle Community College. She has published extensively on refugee issues and continues to volunteer at the Refugee Women's Alliance in Seattle. There is that book. This will be on the back shelf. Second book, which needs to be processed with a sticker on it, is Making a Life. Photos of Whidbey Island, I'm putting the word island in there, in the 1970s. Black and white photos from Whidbey Island in the 70s. So this will go into the library. But today is a chapbook for Writers Read. Now, I'm going to let you know just a little information about this. There are a few chap books up here, and you're welcome to borrow one or take one, but you might consider turning it back into your mail.
6K.
6K. If when you're done with it, you might turn it back into Nancy. So this is just such good news that you've come back from Arizona and joined us, Nancy. And I'm looking forward to hearing you read.
Okay. Well, thank you for your invitation. I really am pleased to be here. And in fact, we came back a little earlier than we expected because of Writers Read. So it's very happy to me to be here and to see you all. I'm just astounded at how many people came. It's great. Let's see. Okay, let me just get along here. You're welcome to keep the little chapbook if you want to keep it. But if you read it and then you're tired of it and you don't want it anymore, don't throw it out. Put it in 6K, and that will be good for me. I'll give it to somebody else. Okay, so this is a bunch of writings chosen from journals that I wrote while I lived on Whidbey Island. It's a small selection out of a mass of material that I'm slowly organizing to explain about my life from 1966 to 1978. That's the topic here. My intention in this overall project is to explain a devastating period of my life and how I came out of it. Partly to explain it to myself. These poems and journal entries are from what I'm calling the recovery period. I fell in and out of love. I did various idiot things. I tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried again. You could say that by this time I was still quite delicate by the time I had written these. Easy to shock, but also having lived through astonishing shocks already, tough in a way, and resilient. I could cope somehow. Nancy copes, but you know, anyway. Well, these prose, there are 3 prose pieces in here. I'm going to read one. They were all written in 1976, although one is about an earlier period. They're not perfect, they're not complete. Each describes a crisis which I navigated, more or less, and at least survived in one piece. Each is a learning process. So I'm going to start with this one called Boulder to Seattle. Okay. I drove from Boulder to Seattle in my old VW sedan. Now I'm assuming you can hear me. Okay. In January 1976, the day I left Missoula, snow was falling. There was very little traffic either way. West of Missoula somewhere, there is a town tucked into the mountains. Big hills bend wildly over the road, following a tumbling river strewn with frozen boulders. No one could be living in those dead canyons cut into the hills like wounds. The town had a small flat purchase in the whistling terrain, a few buildings, some large constructions, a pipeline or a mine. The hitchhiker had a pack, a shabby jacket, ruined boots. He stood beside a snow hill, hunkered down in his clothes, thumb out. He looked so cold. I couldn't possibly leave him, so I picked him up. He was very glad I stopped, thanking me over and over. He said he was going to see Seattle, to see his sister, coming from Wyoming, where he'd lost a job as a dishwasher. It soon became apparent that he was a Jesus freak. He spoke of the infinite beauty of living, the fullness of his heart, the reality of the saints and martyrs. He was a bit vague on why he'd lost his job. He didn't seem very bright, and he did keep talking and talking about Jesus. Finally, I asked him to be quiet for a while. We drove on. The next time he spoke, it was to answer a question. But I had not asked a question. Pretty soon, he was carrying on one half of a conversation. He was pretty lively, bouncing and laughing. Occasionally, he would speak both sides out loud. The invisible person appeared to be a saint, possibly Jesus himself. He would respond directly to me if I spoke directly to him. Sometimes he spoke up as though I had spoken when I had not spoken. He was expecting a reply. At first I was disconcerted, but I soon gave up trying to convince him I had said nothing. I just answered as well as I could. Our exchanges were only a small part of his well-peopled conversation, however. We drove on, across snowy Idaho. Night fell as we entered the plains of eastern Washington. I was concentrating on driving. Suddenly, he laughed in wild amusement. "Ah, shut up," he ordered indulgently. "I'm not going to do that." After a little while, he said it again and added, "She's all right." I looked at him. He was looking at me. There followed an extended argument of which I could hear only the half. He was extremely amused by the suggestions he was turning down. My notions of these suggestions ranged from car theft to rape to murder, but I did not dare ask him or in any way acknowledge any reality that included whatever they were. I was trying to figure out what to do. We were driving slowly because of the snow, which was still falling. Millions of tiny, dry flakes blown by a mean wind. There were no towns. It seemed pretty clear that if I put him out of the car, he would freeze. On the other hand, it seemed he might do me harm, and I was worried. There was an uncontrollable trembling in my jaw and a quaking in my midsection. I had a cottony mouth and a sensation that time had stopped. Without taking my eyes from the road, I listened attentively to every nuance in his voice. He was getting annoyed, telling the silent speaker to keep his mouth shut. "No, man, cut it out," quote, quote. I decided that if he won his argument, I would be safe. I listened, concentrating. After a while, he regained his bubbling good temper. It seemed he had won. Very slowly, I relaxed. We drove on. By the time we reached Ellensburg and Snoqualmie, where we stopped for gas, I was feeling safe enough. Pity won out with me, and gratitude was apparent in him. He was talking to me again, not at all to the voices. We got to Seattle after midnight, and I asked him about his voices. "Seems like they get in the way of your life," I said. "Oh, well," he shrugged with a smile. "I know what's happening." That's all I heard from him. At his request, I left him out where he could walk downtown, and I've never seen him since. He was a young man and didn't have a very crazy eye. That night, my eye was crazier than his by the time we parted. That's it. So the other two prose pieces, one is quite short and the other is quite long, so I'm just going to read poems now. These poems are not, as they appear in the chapbook, are not necessarily in order of time they were written, but they were all written between 1976 and 1978 when I was trying to understand myself and figure out how to face my life after some terrible, devastating events. But let me see, what was I going to read first? I always see the flaw in me, my misery. The flaw is there. Where? Clarity and love so far away. How does kindness happen? That's one. Here's another one. Should I take my shoes off? Now, I was at this time, 1978, I would have been 40 when I wrote this. Should I take my shoes off? Look, old woman, pet your cat behind glass panes that shield you from the weather. What is this, bare feet in February? Off they come. I want to be tough as a nut at 73, woody and brown. The ache of civilization lies in age. Out in the wild, you strengthen or you die. And that's what I was thinking about. How to be normal. Do you not like me anymore? You say I'm just like everybody else? Well, it's a triumph to be normal, Jack. To eat and so on, make love, go to sleep, wake up, carry on. I make love a lot of different ways every day, everywhere I can. Call it befriending, call it connection. To do it, to make contact, I do my best to be normal. There's no other way. Okay. Here's a lighter one. This is when I was in love with somebody. Remember when we took the red pirogue out on the water? The kids were fishing from that old broken jetty, and the little waves were sparkling. Nobody caught any fish, and nothing important happened. And we walked home, my arm around your waist, your arm around my waist, and you laughed in the sun. Remember? Yeah. Yes, I like that one too. I have some love poems in here. Anyway, I skipped out. This is the last one. To the west, blue sky. There must be sun somewhere. Packed a lunch and took the car. Stretching for a dream, the western shore. Resort town, February. Logs and clapboard cabins, feeble, silent in the feeble sun. Grasses yellow as the sand bent by the north wind. And the ocean, dark, dark blue, white caps standing in from far away. Good sailing, but no sailors. And on land, just me. I couldn't get much farther west, 2 steps perhaps, before the foam advancing claimed my shoes. I walked south on the pebbles and crows gathered. Tremendous dark clouds parted. I found an indentation in the steep bluff where I sat, stood, ate, was lost in thought. So, there you are. Any questions?
Nancy, just a minute here. I have forgotten to ask you my question. On? Not yet. Here we go. Earlier this week, I talked to Carol and Nancy about how does writing fit into their life now? How is it a daily process? Is it a writing when you need to write? Or how does it work for you, Nancy? Are you writing every day at 8 a.m.? Or how does it?
I wish. No, actually, I write when I really have a strong emotion about something, and I write poetry. And just the other day, I wrote a poem, which I don't remember right this minute. Yeah, it was about this event where this girl, 17 years old, driving, turned right on red. Okay, so she turned right on red. Nothing wrong with that, but they stopped her. This was in Alabama, I think. And she was an illegal alien, so 17 years old, and suddenly her whole family is gone, you know, because they went and got the rest of the family too.
Oh, wow.
And I just, it's so impossible. So you can't, I just wrote a poem. What can you do?
Write a poem. That's a good way to get it going, get it out.
Other than that, I write, I have a lot of writings. My purpose this year and next year is to shape these writings into something that people can read.
Yeah, and that's a big job, isn't it?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm working slowly on it, but you know, I often get kind of discouraged, I would say.
Exactly.
You know, I read something and it's about so much devastation. My divorce, for instance. Oh my God. My abortion, for instance. Oh my God. And I read it, and I wrote it at the time, and I just can't bear to read it.
Yeah.
I can't bear it. So then I put it away,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Good.
and I don't do anything for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I have to figure out how. This deadline was so helpful. It really was. I got this chapbook because you gave me a deadline.
Before we ask for other questions, I'm going to ask you to spend 2 minutes at the most on what is a chapbook. It's first of all one word, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well, it's really an antique word, and the current word would be pamphlet. And so it's just a pamphlet. Yeah, pamphlet. Pamphlet, like for instance, a common chapbook that you might see in a lot of different places is, a calendar that somebody puts out, and they have a little book, and they say, you can take this calendar. Or what's the word I want? What's the word I want? God damn it. It's the word I want is almanac. You know that yellow almanac with the pattern on the front, and you open it up, and it's full of predictions for the weather for the year and things like that. That would have been called a chapbook, but now it's called a pamphlet. So it's just that the word struck me as something that would catch attention, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it did start in the 20th century, didn't it? In the early 1900s, or was it
What, chapbooks?
1800s? Yeah.
No, chapbooks are from the medieval period. They start we're talking old
Truly,
times.
so we all need to.
Well, they were first, when printing first started, then the printer would put together something, a pamphlet.
Oh.
Usually they would have some images, some woodcuts, say.
Yeah.
Usually crude, and they'd print them fast, and they weren't very good quality, and they were on bad paper and so on, or ordinary paper. And then they would give them to agents who would go hawk them on the street, and
Okay.
and they were called chapbooks. And that's medieval or late medieval. And
okay.
then,
Thank you very much
That's
for
all.
explaining that
Yes.
and the history of a chapbook.
Sorry, I haven't
That's
got it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Other
Well, I should have
questions?
just called it a pamphlet. Yeah, go ahead.
Ruth? Thank you, Risa.
Could you say just a little bit about your relationship with the Hmong people?
Oh, yeah. Well, I started in 1980. I was not in, I was out of school, and I had come back to Seattle in 1978 to finish my degree. That was a decision I made, so I did that. I came from Whidbey Island to Seattle, and I went to the first year of graduate school in anthropology. Took the tests and got admitted and so on. And then I just had money problems, so I stopped. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do here? The question I was interested in with the refugees was, how do they absorb change into their lives? They have suffered so many changes in their environment, in their relationships, in the government they live under, everything. How do they understand that? What do they say? So that was my question. So I started down on 23rd Avenue. There's a YMCA down there, and I was volunteering there. And I did that for a while, and then I went back to school and started doing things in an organized way. But I was really trying to help them with whatever they needed. Did they need to know how to go to the drugstore and buy things? I would take them to the drugstore, and we'd look at the labels and try to figure things out. Did they have to figure out their taxes? I would do their taxes for them. Things like that. I would just do whatever did they need a job? I would help them, if I could, get a job. Did I need to listen to them talk? Did they have to find a place to live? Did they have problems with immigration? All kinds of things. And I just did whatever they needed, whatever they asked for. I did that for 6 years, maybe, and then wrote this book. This book is my dissertation, and you know, it's reputable. It's a, you know, as an academic exercise, my idea was I'm explaining their parents' lives to the children of these people. So I used language in this book that I thought teenagers or 20-somethings with ordinary educations could follow and appreciate. And so there's a lot of anecdotes in it, and it's the purpose is I mean, I really need a purpose, you know, and so the purpose in this book is to help the children, because the children and the parents, the children had completely different lives from their parents, you know, and you know how it is. And they really didn't understand what their parents had been through. And they had to be the translators, and they often were contemptuous of their parents. Mm-hmm. So, how do we deal with that? So
the publishing date?
1994, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
1994 is the
Right.
publishing date.
Right.
On this. Okay.
But then I was done with working with them. You know, I was done. I had to look out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After that. Yeah.
So our copy, of course, will be on the back shelf in the library with a D for Donnelly on it, and that will go back. This one will appear in the next couple of weeks after it gets processed. So, and then you're welcome to come by. Are there any more questions? We have a few minutes. Any more? Ina.
I know.
Your knowledge of the Hmong people is extraordinary, and I wonder whether you would be willing to give a full program just on the people. I remember reading to what degree they are so different because they were so isolated. They lived in the mountains. They are illiterate in our sense, and at the same time their culture is extremely rich. And when they came to California, let's say, the adjustment for them was terribly difficult, because their medicine, I mean, their habits, like, I can't remember for what purpose, but they would make a fire in the living room because that's what they did for some celebration.
Well, there's that very famous book, The Spirits Catch You and You Fall Down.
Right, that's the one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's about Hmong in California.
Here we are in America, very civilized, very whatever. I won't
Okay,
describe
so I
it.
did that. I published that book 30 years ago. The problem is that nothing stays the same. Everybody keeps moving. So the Hmong, there are Hmong in Minnesota who are in the Congress now. They're representatives in Congress. I mean, a lot of people have really adapted very well, but I'm sort of caught in a amber with them because I have not proceeded with them. I went on to other events. So I would say it's a historical event. I can talk about it, but you can get it all out of the book, and I don't have anything to add.
There we go. Good for you, Nancy. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Really, really interesting. And let's see, Risa will get that. Nancy, there we go. And Carol can come right up. Oh, Carol. And how fun is this going to be? Because you might have noticed that there is a box on the lid of the box. And guess what's in the box? Puzzle, of course. Good guess.
Can you say hello?
Hello.
I'm gonna set this just.
Hello. Can you hear me? Ooh, ooh. I don't touch that. Okay. All right.
Good to see you, Carol.
Good to see you
We'll
again,
have
Nancy.
But earlier this week, as I said, I asked Carol and Nancy when they wrote Carol's answer made me take a big, deep breath. Listen to what she says about when do you write in Maine.
Oh, at Horizon House, I really write very little. I wrote the article I'm going to read to you. What I really do in the mornings, my goal is to go down to the wood shop where I have my jigsaw and to cut for 45 minutes every morning. That's my passion here at Horizon House. As far as writing, I'm lucky enough to go to Maine every summer. Only missed one summer, COVID summer, since I was 7 years old. And we have an old family cabin by a lake. And down near the water, there's an Adirondack lean-to, which is a slant roof shelter. And in it, there's a cot and a table. And I go down every afternoon and have my rest hour. And I read and listen to the lake and write poetry. I haven't written in the last couple of years, but I've amassed quite a few poems, all written in Maine, and mostly, almost all of them written about Maine.
Thank you so much. I can imagine that, can't you? We'll just crawl in that cabin with you and write. Okay, Carol, what are you reading for us today?
Well, I'm going to do two things. If there's time, I will read one poem afterwards from lines from the lean-to. But right now I'm going to read an article that I wrote for a Games and Puzzle magazine, an international magazine, based on the puzzle program here at Horizon House. So I've added some familiar names and updated some of the facts. I wrote this several years ago, and I'll leave it on the table so you'll see lots of familiar faces in the pictures here. Okay. The title of the piece is Puzzledom, Wooden Puzzles in a Retirement Community, or Puzzle Lust Among Seniors. A little old lady called her neighbor and said, "Please come over and help me. I have a killer jigsaw puzzle laid out, and I can't figure out how to get started." Her neighbor asked, "What's it supposed to be?" And she said, "Well, according to the picture on the box, it looks like a rooster." Her neighbor dutifully went over to help. She showed him the puzzle, spread all over the table. He studied it for a moment and turned back to her. No matter what we do, he said, we're not going to be able to assemble these pieces into anything resembling a rooster. Now let's have a nice cup of tea, and then we'll put all the cornflakes back in the box." And that's one of my favorite jokes. Almost 17 years ago, I brought my own, thank you. Oh, thank you. Almost 17 years ago, Simon and I moved into Horizon House, a retirement community perched on the edge of downtown Seattle. Our apartment looked over the tall Douglas firs of Freeway Park to the even taller business and apartment buildings of the city's core. We found ourselves in a community of about 500 residents and staff, and we found 2 card tables, each holding one cardboard puzzle. Nothing's wrong with cardboard, but I've always had a special feeling for old-fashioned wooden jigsaw puzzles. My mother, Louise Barnard, learned how to cut puzzles back in the 1950s, and she went on to cut hundreds over the next 50 years. I learned from my mother and have passed the 5-decade mark myself. After a few months of settling into our new home, I decided to put out one of my own puzzles in the puzzle area, despite strong feelings that a piece might go missing, or worse, the entire puzzle might be stolen. Well, the puzzle stayed at its place and was completed. Another was put out, and that got done. and so on. Someone at Horizon House, besides Simon and me, liked wooden puzzles. Gradually, a small group evolved, a dozen at most, of active, even rabid, wooden puzzle fans. We called ourselves the Woodies. And I want to give a shout out right now to at least two Woodies who are still at the tables, May Derland and Nancy Federici. Another Woody, that was George Dvorak, now gone, dubbed our tables Puzzledom. At first, all the puzzles we did belonged to Simon and me. But after a few years, the Woodies thought that Horizon House should develop its own collection. So we applied for an in-house grant, gem grant then, receiving $600. With that money, we bought 8 Liberty puzzles. More grants followed, along with recognition by the Residents' Council as a puzzle activity. That status allowed us to apply for a yearly budget to buy puzzles, and additional gem grants then also enabled buys of large piece puzzles and small puzzles. Fast forward to today. Our wood puzzle collection numbers 192. Most of the puzzles are laser cut, which means cut by laser from a computer program, not hand cut, the way my mother and I do it. These puzzles are kept in locked credenza drawers near our tables. Most puzzles are stored by company name. Liberty, Artifact, Wentworth are the prominent names. We also have drawer sections of small puzzles, seasonal puzzles, anonymous puzzles. Drawer charts remind us, thank heavens, where everything is. Cardboard puzzles, we have about 100 of them, are stored in 2 large unlocked cabinets. Generally 300 pieces up to 750 pieces. A bulging bookcase holds the 1,000-piece puzzles, all of them donated. What do we do with all these puzzles? We have 5 puzzle areas on 4 tables, 3 for wooden puzzles and 2 for cardboards. A team of 5 oversees the tables in Puzzledom, and I see probably 5 of us here today. Thank you for coming. We each work a 2-week shift. Duties include visiting the tables at least twice a day to break down completed puzzles, put out fresh ones, and generally monitor the tenor of the tables and the mood of our puzzlers. Every puzzle put out is recorded by name in our logbook. We have at least 8 logbooks going back at least 10 years. If a piece is broken, or gasp, lost, that fact is recorded in the logbook. Lost pieces, of course, trigger instant action. We elderly puzzlers peer under the table, inspect chair cushions, and even check our own and our puzzle neighbors' sweater sleeves and shoes. The number of lost pieces has diminished greatly since we started using frame puzzle boards, resident-made in our workshop by the ever-generous Dan Madigan. How many puzzle buffs do we have? No one knows. A guess might be 3 dozen. Some puzzlers work late at night. Some puzzlers start work late at night at 10:30. I don't know when they finish. Others come in the morning on their way to and from the adjacent gym and exercise rooms. Peak times at the tables are mid to late afternoons, especially on dark winter days. The puzzles are there for all, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, removed only for special events occasionally held in our area. Our average puzzling age is probably in the low 80s. Everyone pretty much abides by informal rules. Once a puzzle is put out, it stays out until completed. The record, as I recall, is 3 weeks. Wooden puzzles are put out without pictures by popular demand. Cardboard puzzles have the boxes right there to show the image. Careful records are kept by our current co-chair, Ann Pound, a retired librarian who revels in detail. She can reveal statistics that will only appeal to us puzzle nerds. Every puzzle in the collection, remember we have almost 200 of them, is put out about twice a year. Most puzzles are done twice, each completion noted in the logbook before being put away. Anne also has a system by which we always know which puzzles to put out, ones that have not been worked in, say, the last 6 months. An exception to the rule is that during my 2-week work shift at the tables, I still provide our own Ottenberg puzzles. It's a chance to provide variety and let puzzlers work, say, an Elms puzzle from Maine, a Mr. Go-Go from Bulgaria, or a Mr. Bob puzzle from Australia. Only push-fit puzzles, the kind that don't have interlocking pieces, you just kind of slide the straight edges together. Only push-fits cause complaints. Elderly hands do not get along well with puzzles that don't hold together well. What happened during COVID? Like everyone else, we were closed down, confined to our apartments for a week or two. Our puzzle tables were closed for months, even after we could move about the campus. Frustration broke out among die-hard puzzlers, missing their daily fix. Thus was founded in COVID a sort of puzzle pony express, using wooden bags from the Ottenberg's apartment. Email or phone call would bring word of desperate need. Within minutes, after all, I had nothing else to do, a puzzle was dispatched in plain brown bag, often marked urgent, delivered by staff. Do you COVID people remember? Staff who had nothing else to do. They did deliveries all day long. They took the puzzles. Puzzles were returned the same way. This went on for weeks. Not a single piece was lost. A cardboard loan program was also inaugurated while the tables were closed, and we can thank Risa Ransom for that good idea. Come on down to the cardboard cabinets, puzzlers were told. Pick up a couple of puzzles, sign them out in a puzzle loan book, and enjoy working them in your own apartment. Keep them as long as you like. An instant hit during COVID, the program continues, highly popular today. And so far, no cornflakes have been found in any box. Thank you.
I have heard that there was a resident, one amongst us, who stayed at the table with the picture of the puzzle in front of them, and she kept looking at the puzzles that don't have the picture and said, maybe I should try that. And she has now moved to doing the puzzles with no final product in front of her. And I'm sure that takes a different part of the brain. I'm always interested in brain function. And so people go back and forth between tables. Is that right, Carol?
Yeah, the cardboards and the woodies used to be completely divided. But now we no longer call ourselves the woodies. We're just one big happy family of puzzlers. We found out we could get more money that way from by having larger numbers. But anyway, can I read my poem, or do you want to do the puzzles first?
I was going to do Q&A. Thank you for your poem reminder.
I want to read my poem.
Yes, you do.
Okay. In the mornings in Maine, I take a walk. So many of the old roads and trails, as any of you who've ever lived in the country know, are now new homes, rental homes, fences, do not enter signs, but there's still a few places where I can go. And this poem is called Morning at Honeymoon Point, July 2022. Armed with blueberry cup, water, and 45 minutes of a neighbor's talk, it was easy to bushwhack the old trail and walk out to the point past landmarks gone. The fallen bridge and collapsed boathouse both looked forlorn, but Honeymoon Point, that was a different tale, where rock ledges recalled childhood swims and sunfish sails. Rough underfoot, yet sun-warmed to touch, the granite provided stability to landscape changed so much. Against blue water, blue sky, even this early in the season, I found blueberries ripening. For no good reason other than just like me, they had returned for another year. Just like me, they'd withstood what might have wiped them clear. Time to walk home, berry cup full, memory bowl too, remembering warmed gray granite and shades of blue, berries, water, sky, and oh yes, on the trail back, I saw a turquoise dragonfly. That's it. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions here for this wonderful gift to Horizon
Karen
House?
has one back there.
Okay. I go to Monday Market and I find people buying your puzzles. So I'd like to know how many and how frequently you put puzzles for sale at Monday Market.
Yes, I've been lucky enough to be able to make puzzles primarily for Christmas. And they're small puzzles in small organza bags, about 70 pieces. And they've been a donation to the market most years that I could do that. And that's where they've come from. I think a few of them have been recycled and brought down and offered for sale again, which is fine too if people don't want them. But they seem pretty popular because they're self-packaged and small and help the market, and I've been delighted to be able to do it. I start working usually in July or September, the years I've been able to make them, and I hope to do some down in the wood shop, and maybe even if Dan Madigan gives permission and Anna Rudd, the co-chairs, have some people come down and watch me cup and maybe learn themselves.
Okay.
Nancy, is there truly a culture of silence at the tables, or is that true? Or is
I
it just
love
something I
to go on.
observe?
Some people like silence, and others, it's a wonderful place to have warm conversations. We've really sort of worked out as a therapy center. We've had people come who are either new to Horizon House or have lost a loved one. And they want to be alone, and they find solace in the puzzles. And sometimes when I would approach the table, they would leave. Or if anyone, they wanted and they needed that. But as time went by, and you know how you can have a conversation without looking at a person face to face?
Absolutely,
And you're
yeah.
able to channel certain things. That's how the puzzles have functioned. But they're also a place where we have uproarious laughter.
But there's not a rule.
No, there are no rules. You kind of find your fit.
Okay. Anybody
Good
else?
question.
Oh, here's Risa. Has it?
Perhaps you addressed this, but where do you get your design ideas for the puzzles you cut in the wood shop?
My design ideas come from almost anywhere. There are paper art printed on paper. It might be a calendar. It could be a placemat from a restaurant. Most of the puzzles that Karen referred to are Christmas cards. Often I've put up signs after Christmas in the mailroom and say, if you don't want your Christmas cards, perhaps I can use them and recycle them into gifts for the Monday market. They come from there. I don't do original art, Carol.
So I have a question. Do you then start with a colored piece of paper?
I start with a piece of paper and a piece of wood. Can you hear me? I'm slipping here. And then it's plywood, and then I paste the paper on the wood using a linoleum roller and something called Yes paste, Y-E-S. Then I cover that with wax paper and take my pie roller and gently roll out all the air bubbles and roll it until it adheres. Now, this is not the way the professional puzzlers do it. They have dry mount press and that, which I've never done. But that's how it's done. You have to have paper, glue, wood, and a saw, and no wine till after you finish cutting.
During COVID, didn't the committee put together a rental with artifacts?
A what?
With artifact company, and they shipped puzzles in and we did them?
I think that may have been, but I don't remember. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Well, I know my daughter and I got on it, and we got, you know, the two puzzles would come. She would drop one off at the front, and I would pick it up and give her the one I had just finished, and we would pass them back and forth like that.
Yeah.
But I thought we had some that came in also.
A friend of mine who deals with used puzzles, I just came across the picture. He sent us a whole bunch of puzzles to do.
Maybe that was
and
it.
then we sent them back.
Okay.
Aaron Boxerman down in Phoenix.
When I knew you were going to talk today, I went back to my photo gallery. You know how many I did during COVID? 132 wooden puzzles. I didn't have to do big programming during that time, so that's what I did.
Carol, is the poem puzzle that is opened in that box, is that cut by your saw?
That's cut by me.
Okay.
And I can't tell you whether I cut it here at Horizon House or not.
Okay.
But that's a puzzle. We've done it at the puzzle table, and in about 6 months we'll do it again.
Okay, that's a sample of one of your puzzles.
I just want to say how grateful I am to the whole population at Horizon House, because I've not admitted this to many people, but when I see a jigsaw puzzle, my palms begin to sweat. I can't put the stuff together. And yet, you know, it just makes me, you know, crazy. But you all are so kind to those of us who just can't do it.
It's good. I want to, can I say something, Nancy?
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
I want to say how nice it was to hear Nancy Donnelly read today.
Wasn't that?
I had met her in Julianne, and her talents are many, and we're going to be featuring her glass art, is that the correct way to describe it, in the collection cabinet come fall. So you'll meet the collector, you'll get to see and hear from Nancy again. We're very, very lucky to have her in Julianne here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good news. Okay, thank you so much, one and all. Let's meet again next month, and then we'll stop for July and August, and then resume in September. So let's hear it for the two readers today.